Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hogo with It. Today I am here to share with you some of the books that I got in January. So let's get into it. I have 9 books that I want to share with you here. One of them is an ARC that came from a publisher. The rest I got at a Value Village. I went kind of insane. And I have more for a whole other haul because I just did some real damage and I could not help myself. And so let's start with the ARC, and I think you guys are going to be pretty excited to see Darling Rose Gold in the mix. This is a thriller and it will be published on March 17th. And it sounds really good and it's had a lot of buzz, and I'm really hoping that it's worth all of the hype that it's getting. This is about Rose Gold, who is 18 years old. She has had a very difficult childhood. She thought she was very ill her whole childhood, and the doctors were completely perplexed as to what was going on with her. She spent her whole childhood basically in and out of surgeries. She was in a wheelchair, and her mom, Patty, was taking care of her. It turns out that her mom, Patty, was completely lying, that she was perfectly healthy. Her mom ends up going to jail for this. She goes to jail for 5 years. By the time that she gets out, Rose Gold has moved on with her life. She has a child, and her mom has come out of jail and says, you know, I apologize and I want to rectify the situation and be close to you again. And everyone tells Rose Gold not to let her back into her life, but Rose Gold has other thoughts and she wants to get revenge on her mother. And it just sounds like a lot of fun. It really does. So that is a very exciting book that I got. Next up is another beauty. I could not believe the condition that I got this in. This is The Confessions of Frannie Langton by Sarah Collins. This is historical fiction, but it's also a bit of a mystery. In this book, we follow a woman named Frannie Langton who is accused of the brutal double murder of her employers. Now, she is in a courtroom and telling her story. She is a Black woman, and the people who are there testifying against her have some pretty damning testimonies. They're calling her a witch and whore and all sorts of horrible things. And you hear her story about her childhood and what led her here. And I have been wanting to read this for a really long time. So yeah, I got The Confessions of Frannie Langton. I also picked up a book that's had a lot of buzz. It's nonfiction, and it's 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo. This sounds very strange. This is the story about 3 women and their 3 different sex lives. Some of these lives sound very strange. There's a woman here who whose husband likes to watch her having sex with other people, and she's kind of grappling with that. There's a woman in here, well, she's not a woman, she's 17 years old. She has spent her high school years, I don't know if she's having an affair with her high school teacher or what, but he ends up getting named North Dakota's Teacher of the Year, and she steps forward with her story. I don't know, it sounds interesting. I'm kind of going into this a little bit nervous, I would say. I don't know whether I'll like this or not, but it has so much hype and so much buzz, and a lot of people have absolutely adored this book. So I picked it up when I saw it at a Value Village. So we shall see about that one. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have read that one and what you thought of it, because it's very much out of my comfort zone. Next is a classic, a modern classic. It's Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is the winner of the Nobel Prize, and I think I watched the movie version of this many years ago. This follows a woman who was enslaved, and she ends up running away. but she doesn't actually feel free. She's very much haunted by the ghost of her baby who died nameless and whose tombstone is engraved with a single word, beloved. That sounds very, very sad to me. Yeah, there's something about this that I'm really nervous to read because it's going to be so emotional, but I also think it could be a really moving read. So I picked it up when I saw it in really good condition at a Value Village. So there's Beloved. Next up is a signed book, and I could not believe someone was getting rid of a signed Marcus Zizek book. This is his new one, Bridge of Clay. And I've been wanting to read this, and I could not believe that I found this in like pristine condition and signed. Let me see. Where is the signed part? There it is. I was super excited. This follows 5 brothers, and they are very close to each other. Their father walked out on them, I think, when they were younger. And we meet them just as their father is walking back into their lives, and it is about their different reactions to that. I think we specifically follow one brother, Clay. He has a secret that he hasn't shared with his family, and it sounds like he's going to open up. It sounds like it's going to be a really emotional read. So that is The Bridge of Clay. I absolutely loved The Book Thief. I don't know if this could top that. Probably not, because it's one of my favorite books ever. I also picked up House of Leaves by Mark Danielowski. This is a very interestingly structured horror book. It is written all over the place. So some of the pages are full on normal, and then others are written upside down. It's meant to be a book that really plays with structure, and I think it's about a house where it keeps getting bigger from the inside out. Is that right? I don't know what I will make of this book, but it's definitely been talked about a lot in the horror genre, and so I had to get it. I don't know whether it will be scary or not. Let me know in the comments below if you've read that and if you were actually scared or what you thought. Next is a book that I was so excited that I found. Like, so unbelievably excited. It is Little by Edward Carey. This takes place in revolutionary France, and we follow Marie, who in 1761, she is an orphan. She's taken in by a man who is a wax sculptor, and this trade brings her all the way to the palace. She goes to Versailles and she starts creating wax sculptures of people there. Now, at the same time, the revolution is starting up and the crowds are calling for people's heads. And luckily, she can create those heads. And I think that she ends up saving people's lives somehow. It sounds very strange, but also really interesting. And I've wanted to read this for a long time now. I've heard really good things about it. This has people like Margaret Atwood and Sarah Schmidt very excited. So that is high praise for Little. Next up is another sad book. I keep picking up sad books for some reason. But I picked up Blue Nights by Joan Didion. I think it was Leanne from Literary Diversions who talked about this book first. And Blue Nights is the story of Joan Didion losing her daughter. It's about her losing her daughter and grieving that loss. I can't fully imagine that. So this will be a very hard one. I think this and Beloved are books that I'm going to have to wait a while to read, but I do want to read this. I think it was Leanne who talked very, very highly about this, so I do want to read that. And then the last book is kind of magical realism, which is not something I pick up regularly at all, but this was a big book a couple of years ago now, and it's The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock. This takes place in 1785, and we meet Jonah Hancock. He wakes up one night with someone knocking urgently at his front door. And he opens the door, and it's one of the captains to his trading vessels. And he says that he sold one of Jonah's ships for a mermaid. And so Mr. Hancock opens the door, and in comes this man with a dead mermaid, or what looks to be a mermaid. And so the streets of London are abuzz about this, and he ends up going to all sorts of elaborate parties, and there he meets this woman who he falls kind of in love with, and I think she becomes Mrs. Hancock, and she writes about this mermaid. Sounds kind of complex, but a lot of people were talking about this a couple of years ago, and it always stayed in the back of my mind. It's a very strange story. I don't know whether I'll like it. I think I'm imagining maybe that it's got magical realism. Let me know if I am making that up, or if this is a book with magical realism. But it sounds interesting. So those are all of the books that I got in January. Let me know in the comments below if you've picked anything up that you are excited about. I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Bye guys!